Um, what my other takeaway from the Super Bowl was I want the Niners to copy the Eagles in that if the Eagles can go with that short yardage play, then I don't care if Brock Purdy beats out Trey Lance. Every time they get to 3rd and 2, 4th and 2, I want Trey in the game. I want to put Check at fullback. I want to put Jason Poe in there at Check's fullback spot, and we'll just push Trey Lance across 2 yards. If Jalen Hurts can be pushed 2.5, 3 yards, the Niners could push Trey 2.5, 3 yards. I would like, to me, the two things I want to steal from Eagles, that right there, and the other one being go for
Nick
it on 4th
Sirianni. No,
down.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want Kyle to start mugging for the cameras.
Yeah.
No, but the rugby scrum I want, and then I want Kyle to stop being so damn conservative on 4th downs and go for it. And if he said, okay, well, the situations, no more situations. From the 40-yard, from your own 40 all the way to the other team's goal line, 4th and under 5, go for it. Don't think twice, go for it. That's, I think, what the analytics community is leaning towards. I think everybody should be doing that. And the Niners especially. No more of this, selective, conservative, but then, incredibly risky. I mean, Kyle Shanahan in these playoffs, and I like Kyle Shanahan. I'm a Kyle Shanahan fan. I'm the guy who pushes back on Grant when Grant says, I think he should be fired. I'm the guy going the other way saying, no, I don't think he should be fired. I think he's a top 5 coach. But this has to change. He has to start getting a little bit more analytic driven and a little bit more consistent with how he approaches 4th downs. I don't want to see any more punts. I mean, give you an example. He was very conservative with Brock Purdy against Seattle and Dallas with how he kind of led the game and what he decided to do on 3rd and 4th downs. But then you're going to be super conservative with Brock Purdy, who's putting up 35 points a game and is like clearly your smartest quarterback. But you're going to get, suddenly you're going for it at the end of the first half with Josh Johnson in a game where you wanted that to be a 1-possession game as long as possible. And you should have taken that 1 possession into the locker room and said, you know what? We'll take it. God bless. Instead, he gets risky with Josh Johnson at the end of the first half on the road against the Eagles, but he's conservative with Purdy against Dallas and Seattle. Make it make sense, Jesse.
He does it all the time. He did the same thing. Remember in Arizona against the number 1 team in the NFL at the time when Trey Lance started? Every single 4th down you're going for it. It was just a weird game plan. It did, and those field goals, by the way, would have added up to a possible win in that game. But I like the scrum thing. I definitely agree there. And if you are going to take that approach on 4th down, Larry, it opens things up on 3rd down. Because what do you see the Eagles do a ton? They run it on 3rd down.
Right.
They're completely willing to run on 3rd down. And by the way, that's the strength of the 49ers. That's what the 49ers like to do. How did the 49ers get out of Green Bay in the divisional round last year? 3rd and 6? They run the ball with Debo?
Right.
Because they knew they were going to go for it on 4th, and it worked out great. So I think it opens a lot of things up. And the Eagles, you saw it all game long. It's like, okay, 3rd down. There's no guarantee they're passing here. Now what do? You've got your turbo or your NASCAR package, whatever it is that you want to call it. You got a bunch of small linemen ready to get after the quarterback. They got their ears pinned back. Draw play. We're running. We're going heavy. Whatever it looks like. So I love it. But that's a commitment that you have to make. It's a philosophy change. Man, I don't know if Kyle's willing to do that.
I know. Double B Studio. Kyle needs to hire a head coach. He can remain the OC. Yeah. Could you imagine that? Absolutely. I mean, Grant would love that. It would be awesome. Yeah. But I don't see that happening. Do you think that the rugby scrum gets, eliminated by the NFL? Because I'll say this, Jesse, if the way that they don't blow the whistle for halting forward progress. So it's just like you get a first effort, then you get a second effort.
Yeah.
And as long as you're still doing it, you might get a third effort. And I've seen that pile move 4 or 5 yards. I'm waiting for the coach who comes out with the rugby scrum and runs it on first down and goes no huddle on second down and runs the same thing and goes no huddle on third down and runs the same thing and goes no huddle on fourth. That would be almost the end of the NFL as we know it. I mean,
Yeah.
that is a terrible play to watch. There's nothing exciting about it, but it's effective. And if you give me
Extremely.
4 tries and you're going to allow me to have second efforts and third efforts, I bet you I could put out a collection of linemen and a quarterback or a backup quarterback that have enough power that if you give me 4 tries, I can get 10 yards. And if that's the case, why would I do anything but that?
It it actually does make a lot of sense, and especially the way that you saw the one play that got me is when Chris Jones ended up on top of the pile and was getting moved like he was at a concert as a teenager.
Right. He was like
Just
surfing the crowd. He was crowd
yeah, he was
surfing.
just moving right along, no problem. And they picked up like 3 yards, just kept moving. It's like, wow, I mean, if you can do that with a man that size, and your offensive line is that strong, what's stopping you from doing it every play? Because it's clearly working. They know it's coming every time, and every time they're getting 2+ yards. No questions asked. So yeah, I I don't know if every team could get away with it because not every team has a quarterback that's that physical and a line that's that physical. But for the teams that do, it could be a nightmare for sure.
I mean, if teams started to go to that with any kind of consistency, the league would have to outlaw it because it's such an ugly play.
Yep.
It's such a, I mean, nobody wants to watch that. Nobody wants to watch that. Takes all the athleticism out of the game. But you know what? I'm thinking to the Niners in some of those years where they struggled on first and goal from like the 9. If you have a big enough, you got Trey Lance, 240, super athletic. You got Juszczyk. Not every team's got a fullback. You got an offensive guard that you could put Nick Sakel back there and just
Right.
push, just everybody push. And I think I don't know. I mean, to me, I haven't seen anybody really be able to stop it. And the only way to stop it is for the officials to blow a whistle early and not allow that second effort, third effort. Because if you do, it's literally unstoppable. One other thing I took from the Super Bowl is Chris Jones lost his mind on the sidelines when Jones was in the neutral zone, and I think not Derek Nottie jumped in, and they got a first down, and then the Eagles got an easy touchdown to go up. I think it was 21-14.
Yeah.
They showed Chris Jones after the commercial, and this guy was just holding court on the bench. And I'll tell you, he's a scary guy. And the
Yes.
Niners could use, I'm not saying they're soft because they're not. They got a great defense. They got one of the best defenses in the game. But man, they could use that kind of a personality on their front seven. That the kind of personality that's like, I'm the baddest guy on the planet and it ain't going down like that. And if you guys don't play to my level, I'm going to kick your ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, Jones had that. I think that's pretty much what he was saying. Like, you guys better start bringing it or you're going to have to deal with me. And he's so scary that I think that's a motivator alone. First of all, I'm just a monster Chris Jones fan. I think Chris Jones, when I see him against the Niners, he's like Reggie White, Mean Joe Green, and Aaron Donald all rolled into one. I mean, he's like the greatest defensive lineman I've ever seen against the Niners. But if the Niners are going to, the one thing that I want to see them add, more so than a size or a position, or give me somebody who's that powerful and that commanding of a presence. They need that kind of monster on their defensive front. The kind of guy that, he's on your team, but if he wasn't, you'd be like really kind of scared of him. And you're even like kind of scared of him anyway, and he's still on your team. They need that kind of guy on their front seven. Somebody like a Frank Clark, and they get 2 of them. Clark's like that, and Jones is like that, and they play for keeps, and you can see it. And to me, that kind of toughness, they need that kind of that kind of person on their defensive front seven. I'm not sure if they just play DN, D tackle, linebacker, whatever, but they got to have somebody who's like that kind of a personality.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you say this because this was kind of my gripe with the 2019 team is that they were missing that. Now, I felt like they addressed it a little bit because not quite the same, but I think Greenlaw and Hufanga, the way that they play, really does bring like a physical presence to the game. You see how everybody gets lifted up when they have a big hit. They're willing to hit players and they're going for broke on some of these plays. Now, they miss tackles because of it, but you can see that they're going to lay the wood every time that they hit you, which I love that. But they don't have that big guy in the middle that you're talking about or on the defensive line that really has also the physical presence to get in your face. I feel like Kinlaw, from just like a tough standpoint, could have been that player, but unfortunately, I just don't think he's ever going to reach being a good player to also be like, hey, I'm really the best player on the team and I'm a bad SOB. He doesn't have both. He only has the bad SOB part.
Yeah.